Hello and welcome to our short series of films on innovation. Today we're talking to Humphrey Armstrong and Thorin Munro about innovation and how it applies to leadership and development as a human being. This is an area that they're both expert in and have many, many years of experience.
It's been our pleasure to work with both of these men over a number of years and to learn from their professional and personal wisdom and experience. We hope you enjoy what they have to say.
I was born on a remote farm. We didn't have any electricity. It was a very basic outback experience. Because we're isolated, there was a lot of innovation in fixing things. My interest in organisations is very much the complexity. Organisations are complex adaptive systems, but also how do they actually get the best out of themselves and others within that complex environment is one of my passions.
I come from the bush, northern New South Wales. My interest is in groups, and where I've gone to with that practice is the terrain of moral leadership and how people make choices from things that really matter and will really make a difference.
Part of it is reflection, and I think the inspiration of something that could be new comes from reflecting on what's been happening. I like to think of reflection. In fact, as I work with people, I like to get them thinking about how they can reflect on their actions in time. So what's happening right now? How can they look back at their actions and say, well, what happened and what worked and what didn't work? But then also getting them to think back on their practice. And then I think as we move on into developing ideas, I think there are lots of techniques we can use, and they're very old techniques, some of them. I remember actually working for a concrete company, and they made great big tanks, huge big tanks, and they weren't selling. And there was a brainstorming session about what can we do with these tanks, we've overproduced them. And at one point, one person said, well, our mental approach to tanks is tanks that keep water in, but what would happen if we said tanks that keep water out? And suddenly a whole new set of ideas emerged. And you can still see in Victoria these large concrete 50,000 litre tanks which are used for grain storage.
Actually, I don't think about innovation much at all in sort of my practice and my work. In a lot of ways, I view my work as retrograde, as going back to a simpler and maybe an older approach to developing people and developing leadership, which is essentially sitting down and talking and learning and thinking together, and out of that discovering.